So today we're here to talk about Brash Higgins. Brash Higgins is a producer who hails from McLaren Vale. Actually, he's from Chicago and was a sommelier in New York City before he came here to become a pruner and go on to start making wine. Now, Brad has property in the McLaren Vale. He has a vineyard called the Omen Cedar Vineyard, which is planted to Shiraz, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Nero, and he's one of the pioneers in Nero in Australia. The wine we're looking at today from the McLaren Vale is Grenache Mataro. Now, just to touch on the McLaren Vale again, the McLaren Vale has actually gone through a renaissance, and there's producers such as Brad that are looking at a variety of factors in production. They're producing lighter, softer, and more current wines at the moment. Now, Grenache Mataro, not everything he does comes off of his vineyard. He has a fantastic viticulturist who works with him to identify great varieties in the region and also other great growers that Brad can work with. Grenache and Mataro are two varieties that are essentially Mediterranean varieties. They excel in warm, dry climates. McLaren Vale is warm and dry. Shiraz and Cabernet are cool climate, water-intense varieties. They excel there, but if you look at what's happening today around the world, you have to start thinking that at some point it may become too hot and dry in that region. So this wine is probably one of the favorites of mine that Brash produces. And the reason it's my favorite is because I really love Rhone Valley wines. And if anything, this is fashioned after a Rhone Valley wine. Grenache has been made famous in Chateauneuf-du-Pape. Mataro, throughout the Rhone and even into Provence, there's a lot of beautiful rosés made from Mataro. It's very grunty, but very textural and lifted as well. Grenache and Mataro went through a period in Australia where they were actually part of a vine pool scheme. So a lot of people got rid of a lot of the old material. There's recent plantings, and this particular Grenache Mataro comes from a grower and producer called Yangara. Yangara is one of the first larger companies in Australia that has embraced organics and biodynamics. Hence, this is fruit that's grown biodynamically off of the Yangara vineyard. Now, the way this wine is made is quite unique, or in a modern sense, unique. If you think back to the day before we had a lot of refrigeration, before we had a lot of modern winemaking techniques, co-fermenting grapes was or field blends, if you will, was a very common way to make wine. Growers would go out, they would pick all their fruit, they would put it in a bin, it would all ferment together, and the resultant wine was usually a beautiful expression of the fruit and the place. In modern days, we really went away from that and started picking fruit separately, fermenting it, and blending it. So this is not a blend, it's actually a co-ferment. Now, the beauty of a co-ferment, and what Brad does with this, he approaches it more like he's cooking, or a chef. He's a very passionate fellow. He really likes his food and to cook the food. So fermentation is a very violent chemical reaction. I could go through fermentation, but I'm not going to. Essentially what it is yeast eats sugar. The sugar is converted to alcohol and heat, and the result is wine. If you think of a co-ferment in terms of cooking, if you took, say, a piece of fish and you put it in a pan, and you took a tomato and you sliced it and put it in a pan, you could cook both of them and put them together, and you'd have a lovely dish of fish with tomato. But the difference and the difference with a co-ferment is if you took that same piece of fish and you put it in that pan and then chopped up those tomatoes and threw it in together and let them cook together, you would have a completely different expression of that dish. It becomes seamless and almost melded together. So when you look at this one, you have to think of this co-ferment in terms of Grenache being very fruity, Mataro being very grunty, but it coming together seamlessly. The tannins meld together, the acidity melds together, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful way of drinking Grenache Mataro from